From RDS Wealth Management, this is The Retirement.
When you retire, if you want an exciting life, you need a boring investment strategy.
Matters.
If you enter into retirement without a plan for income, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed.
Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Dale Smothers, and you're listening to the Retirement Matters Podcast. My hope is that you will find the information you need in every single show on how to do one of the three things: either saving more money more efficiently, planning better for your future where you can live in retirement worry-free, or my favorite, how you can live a happy and fulfilled life in this life you have been given. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it listening to this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. On this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast, we go into 5 fears that retirees face in retirement and how to get over them based off of a AARP article that we found. This is a very comprehensive list, covers things from financial perspective to emotional perspectives that change when retirement is upon us. And these are things that if you're over the age of 60, you've likely had fears of yourself. Now, I use an analogy in the show of just because you're afraid of the dark doesn't mean that there is a monster under the bed, but it may keep you from going in the room. And this is what we see a lot of retirees who maybe just never address their fears and for that reason never actually live a fulfilled and complete retirement. We believe in living happy in retirement. We believe in retiring the way you desire. And we'd love an opportunity to help you do just that. 270-600-PLAN or rdswealth.com. We'll get you in touch with our team where you can schedule a no-cost consultation with one of our advisors, either at your leisure time, 15 minutes long, or a full 1 hour long deep dive into your situation. We would love to assist you in making it better and more clear for most people that we talk to. We are going to go straight to today's episode. I have nothing else to say except that I would love for you, if you haven't already, to like, subscribe, share this podcast, and if it's possible, go ahead and send us a review or a comment. Giving us high reviews and more comments helps us reach more people. And we would love to make sure that we get this message out for showing people how they can truly retire the way they desire and live happy in retirement. So without any further ado, let's jump to this week's episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. Enjoy the show. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. You're ready to start discussing all things retirement matters. I am going to be basing this entire episode of the Retirement Matters show on an article that I found that was published by AARP. It is titled 5 Retirement Fears and How to Get Over Them. This is a good article, and it is definitely a valid fear that many retirees have as they're approaching or maybe as they're entering into retirement. I would probably say that if you're over the age of 60, you've at least thought of at least one of these, maybe all 5. And we're going to address all of them. And we're going to give you our take on whether or not these fears should be valid and how to avoid the fear or overcome them, as the article says, as we go into retirement. Now, RDS Wealth here, we are determined to help our clients overcome the fear of retirement by mapping out the plan for 5 very specific and critical areas of retirement. We call it the 5 worlds of retirement that you will have to navigate through, and we build a roadmap for all 5 of these. It's the income plan, knowing where your income's coming from, knowing how long it's going to last, knowing that your income will adjust according to inflation, and that your income will be present even in market downturns. We do that by building the investment plan, which is building the investments in a way to where we're not taking excessive or unnecessary risk, but instead we are looking at the income desired and needed and making sure that we're taking just enough risk to achieve that without jeopardizing the hard-earned money that you've made. And number 3, we look at your tax planning. We've got to make sure that we're not paying too much to the IRS. The IRS has their handout. It is a partnership, and we want to make sure that we get out of that partnership as cheaply as possible allowing you to keep more of your hard-earned money. It's not about how much money you make in retirement. It's about how much money you get to keep. And our tax planning, long-term tax planning, allows you to keep more of your money. Number four that we look at, this fourth world of retirement, is the healthcare plan. Building a roadmap for the healthcare decisions that you're going to have to make is absolutely necessary, and that involves being experts in the Medicare arena, knowing which plans are best for each situation, A, B, C, D, and then looking at not only part A, B, C, and D, but what plan for Medicare supplement do you need in your own unique medical history. This is where we come into basically mapping out how you're going to pay for healthcare expenses through retirement, and at the end of retirement, how are we going to pay for those long-term care healthcare expenses. All of this is mapped out, and we've got a good game plan for when it comes, and when it happens, we know what steps need to be taken. And this is all dependent upon the fifth plan, which is the legacy plan. What do you want this money to do whenever you pass away? If you have no desire to leave any money to anyone, then long-term care maybe isn't as important. Taxes, maybe not nearly as important. Having your last check bounce, if that's the decision that you've decided to make, then we'll help you drive towards that. You're going to live every dime of this money, you're going to live it up. Well, your investment plan can be a little bit different if that's the objective. And your income plan doesn't need to run until you're 100 years old with money left over. We just kind of make sure that you got enough to sustain today. This is where we adapt the entire plan to fit you, getting you from where you are to where you want to be. And ultimately, this type of planning is a must before taking the plunge into retirement, or else you will find yourself with all 5 of these fears that we're going to discuss today. Now, if you listen to the show, you know that we go into a pause for positivity. So let's take a quick second to discuss our pause for positivity this week. And I want to consider the idea of moving a goalpost. We talk about this gap versus gain theory, the gap versus gain method of measuring success. So I want to ask you, what is success for you? What is success for you? Let's talk briefly about this positive thought of success. And I want to let you in on a little secret that if you don't have a defined definition of success, you don't have a purpose that you're driving towards in life, it's going to be challenging to ever be considered successful. And even if you have a driving purpose, without this gap versus gain methodology of measuring success, you may always find yourself measuring success against the horizon. And one more bit of wisdom here, if you're measuring success against the horizon, you will never achieve it. The horizon continues to move. That horizon in the future is there because, yes, there is still land to be conquered, but turn around and look at the gain that you have made. Not the gap between you and where you want to be, but instead the gain from where you were to where you are. This gap versus gain method will allow you to be more appreciative. It will allow you to be more generous. It will even allow you to worry less about how far you have to go. You should always be striving for the next greatest thing. And trust me, I'm preaching to the choir here. You also have to make sure that you look at your wins. Counting those wins and thanking the good Lord for those wins is as much a part of success as anything. So knowing where you need to be successful, knowing who you need to impact to be successful, knowing what mission you have to accomplish to be successful is a big part of it. And then knowing that that horizon can't continue to move. You can't continue to move the goalpost. Imagine a football game that was played, and the closer the team got to the end zone moved. And if you didn't punch it in, then, if you were 2 yards away, well, now you're still 5. Or maybe you're still 20. If you didn't get it in, you're always playing from the 20-yard line. Be a tough game to win. Be a tough game to score in. And if we're not careful, we can make success defined the same way. So let's be content, yet driven. Let's measure success on the gain that we have made much more frequently than we do the gap that we have between where we are and where we want to be. If we do this, I think we can continue to drive towards quote-unquote success and the next level of success without having all of the complexities emotionally that come from success. So I will leave you with one last quote here, and this is a word of wisdom. I believe it's Winston Churchill who said, "Whether a man thinks he can or can't, he is right." So define success and know whether or not you are successful based off of achieving that objective. And if you continue to tell yourself, I've still got so much farther to go before I am deemed successful, then you will never be successful. But if you tell yourself, look at how far I've come and how much success I have made, and thank God for that success, and I would like to be there in the next 5 years, or I would like to be over there in the next 6 months. That's a healthy way to progress through this succession in life. All right, we're going to go to a quick break. We're coming back with more Retirement Matters right after this short message.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. Dale is the founder and president of RDS Wealth Management. We specialize in building retirement plans that allow you to walk away from the worry of running out of money. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, if you tuned in to the first part of this episode, you heard me say, we are going through the 5 fears that most retirees have and how to avoid them. Now, these are fears that you likely have, whether you're in retirement or approaching retirement. Over the age of 60 years old, you've probably thought through some of these, and I'm going to go backwards from 5 to 1. The 5th fear, the 5th most fearful thing that retirees are anxious about in retirement is a fear that they won't be able to afford long-term care. Now, I have heard many people discuss this with our team. RDS Wealth helps navigate through retirement planning, and one of those pieces is a healthcare plan. Another piece is a legacy plan, and building that plan all depends upon where you want your legacy to be. Long-term care is not as big of a deal if you want your last paycheck to bounce. If you have no ambition of leaving any money to anyone, then long-term care is not something you have to plan for. At least not financially. You still have to have a plan mapped out for where you're going to start pulling the money from the first time and where your beneficiaries or your people that will be helping take care of you should be pulling that money from and where you would like to stay. Those things are all inside of the plan. But financially, your plan is simple. Spend all of my money until I have no more and then apply for Medicaid. If you are not in that boat, however, and most people are not, then you would want to do some planning around what happens when you go into a long-term care facility. Where do we pull this money from? And once that money is ran out, what do I do then? Without proper planning, you may be asked to sign up for Medicaid as soon as you are helping either your loved one or you yourself are checking into an assisted living facility of any kind. Whether it's a true assisted living or nursing home, they're going to likely help you sign up for Medicaid because most people are going to request Medicaid. And if you do that at the wrong time, it could be detrimental to your overall portfolio. Making sure that you're signing up for that at the right time needs to be in your plan. You also need to have some Medicaid planning along the way. Again, this is all about where and when to sign up, as well as where your assets will be. Who owns those assets? Who owns your IRA? Who owns your money in your 401k now? Who is going to own, let's say, your individual checking account or your house or your car? Who's going to own those things legally? Is it going to be your children? Is it going to be your parents? Is it going to be a trust? Something we call an irrevocable trust perhaps could own those things and allow you to enroll into Medicaid and answer this 5-year question honestly. And it's simply boiled down to this. Do you or have you in the last 5 years owned anything of any significant value? Yes or no? And if yes, List them below. Now, that's not the verbatim question, but it is essentially what they're after. And if you have assets in your name, Medicaid will have you spend those assets down, depending on what state you're in. And I won't go into specifics because this show goes across many states, but what state you're in will determine how much money you get to keep, and the rest of that money will be spent on the bills. One misconception here is that the nursing home makes you sign over legal rights to your house, and that's just not accurate, but it may feel that way because you're essentially signing a paper if you sign up for Medicaid saying that you will pay for everything, even if it requires you selling your house to do so, or the farm, or the car, or whatever else it takes that is not within your spend-down allocation allowance. So, simply put, having a plan for long-term care is important, and fear that you won't be able to afford it can be overcome by the proper amount of planning. There is a way to establish what we call left pocket healthcare account that multiplies your money significantly in the event that you need long-term care expenses. For many of our clients that we have went through the entire Retirement Atlas with, again, the Retirement Atlas is a book of 5 roadmaps built specifically for you to get you where you want to go in retirement. If you don't have one and you would like to understand a little bit more about them, give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. We can build your very own Retirement Atlas for you, 270-600-PLAN, or navigate to our website, rdswealth.com, and set up a time for us to call you directly at a time that is convenient for you, rdswealth.com. But once we have went through the Retirement Atlas, we can start to see, is there money somewhere that we could start to put into this healthcare left pocket account, right pocket being the growth of our assets. These assets in our right pocket are set aside to grow, to build legacy, to generate income, to mark off trips or items from our bucket list. But the left pocket is there for the need for long-term care. And if I put $100,000 in there, it'd be nice to know that when I reach my hand in there to pull it out for long-term care, it's a whole lot more than what we put in there, upwards of $600,000 or $700,000 instead of $100,000. May feel very similar to the well or the meal bucket rather, that never ran dry for the widow woman who blessed Elijah first. I like that story in the Bible. This is very similar to that left pocket account. It multiplies and satisfies the need for paying for long-term care for a very long time, allowing us to protect the rest of our assets against them taking it before Medicaid kicks in. So there are a lot of things that we can do to help avoid fear number 5. Again, fear number 5, the fear that you won't be able to afford long-term care, can be overcome with a proper plan on how you're going to pay for it. Here's a good one. Fear number 4 for most retirees, according to the AARP article that I'm looking at here, says that it's a fear that you'll be lonely. Now, this one pulls at the heartstrings a bit. We are people that are supposed to have social interaction. And if we're not careful when we retire, we may end up leaving places like our job or our social clubs because, they were convenient tying into our jobs. We're not there as often, or maybe the gym isn't a before work type of thing. So we're changing our social circles many times. And oftentimes our identity is wrapped up in those social circles. Maybe even your social circle starts to shrink from losing your job. And this is a concerning thing. It can help you stay active and young if you maintain social circles. So you'll need to make an investment during your working years into your personal relationships. So you can draw on those relationships when you enter into retirement and truly live happy if you have made a conscious effort to make more personal connections as opposed to just simply work connections. And the thing is, happier retirees tend to spend their free time doing lots of activities anyway. So these activities can be done with people you love, people you care about on a more personal level when you lose your connections at work. So developing a solid relationship with family and friends and people around you once you retire will help you avoid this social isolation, which is kind of a natural thing for you if you are retiring, especially if you retire a little bit earlier and your friends are still going to work. And then in this section of fear number 4, which again, fear number 4 is fear you'll be lonely. This is a really neat little thing here that I thought was fascinating because it talks about people overestimating the satisfaction that they will get if they retire in a favorite vacation environment. But the reality is it isolates them entirely from people they know. For instance, if you really like going to Florida, so hey, I'm going to go live 6 months out of the year in Florida. Well, you've left all of your family and friends behind, especially if you have actually invested in those families and friends. It's kind of a challenge. Now you have to go build new family and new friends in Florida. This becomes a challenge for some people. If you're not an extrovert type of individual, it may not be a wise decision to retire at a destination, even though it is your favorite vacation destination, still vacation there, but maybe you take your family and friends with you instead of leaving them to go live there. And ultimately, without addressing this fear or without addressing family, friends, and the people you love and care about, it's difficult to live happy in retirement. That's what we're all about here at RDS Wealth. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with fear number 3, fear number 2, and eventually we're getting to the number 1 fear that people have about retirement, and we're going to tell you how to avoid those fears along the way. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with more Retirement Matters right after this.
Thank you for listening to Retirement Matters, presented by RD Smothers Wealth Management. If you'd like to speak with us, give us a call at 270-600-PLAN. And if you enjoy the information in this show and would like to hear more, you can access previous shows by searching for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. We also produce a weekly newsletter. Receive it free to your email inbox by signing up online at rdswealth.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. And if you have been with us throughout the show, you know that we are going through the 5 fears that retirees have as they approach retirement. This is the 5 most common fears people have when entering into retirement and ways to avoid them. AARP article. I like this article a lot. It really highlights a lot of things, more than just financial things, which brings me to number 3, the fear that people will not have significant health care coverage. And this is much more than just a financial fear. It's not as much that they won't have the money per se to pay for financial cost as it is that they will not have the right types of coverage in their location. Now, this particular piece in the article goes into talking about the complexity of Medicare. And in order to retire without that fear, you either yourself need to study or you need to work with a firm like RD Smothers Wealth Management that is well-versed in the alphabet soup of Medicare. Medicare is very complicated and complex to set up when you think through all the choices you have. Now, at the end of the day, it's not really that challenging, but it can be overwhelming and, again, a fear. Just because you're afraid of the dark doesn't mean that there's a monster under the bed. But this fear can cause you to be paralyzed and, in result, maybe never retire or, even worse, miss enrollment for Medicare altogether. This can cost you financially as well as potentially cost you in your health plan for the rest of your life. This type of health plan that you have is going to be tailor-made, or it should be tailor-made to your unique needs. Part D is a part that we have to shop for your specific medical prescriptions. And then you've got your Part C, which if you take that one, erases A, B, and D, and it also erases the need for a supplement. Could even very easily erase the need for dental and vision. So understanding what plans you specifically need is something you need to address. And again, this is all in our healthcare plan section of Retirement Atlas. The Retirement Atlas is built to help you get from where you are to where you want to be in retirement, and addressing your health care cost with the appropriate plans, something that we directly address with you and for you. And in this article, it talks about having a rainy day fund. Now, I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of people who are not taking advantage of their HSA. You need to participate in an HSA if you have the option to, and put money into that HSA because it is essentially an investment account that you get to contribute to
tax-free and then pull out of that HSA to pay for medical expenses, including some health insurance plans as you get older in retirement. This is a very valuable thing that a lot of people just haven't taken advantage of. Or even worse, when they retire, they see the HSA, they cash it out, and they go buy something. I would be really careful not to misuse the HSA or to overlook the HSA and the power that it has to help offset medical expenses. Let's go to fear number 2. Fear number 2 is one I'm going to take a few minutes to pause on because it's extremely important. Fear number 2 is a fear that you will lose purpose. This is where it all begins. Losing purpose becomes a very cancerous thing in retirement. So I urge you to retire with a purpose. Retire with a desire in your mind to go do some volunteering or do some part-time work. Do things because you love them, not because you have to do them to sustain your lifestyle. Fear of losing purpose will begin to erode your retirement live happy status. We believe in living happy in retirement, and in order to do that, you've got to have a reason to live, whether that's grandchildren, people you are volunteering to impact, or your own family, your wife, your husband, your kids, whatever it may be. There is a purpose for you in life, and finding that is an absolute must. Very similar to what we were discussing at the very beginning of this show. Having a purpose will help you to find success. And now for the number one fear of retirees. It's the number one fear by far. And this is the AARP study of 5 retirement fears and how to get over them. The number one fear is fear you will outlive your savings. We have done extensive radio shows and podcasts on how to calculate whether or not you are ready to retire based off of the need for income, based off of your desire for lifetime guaranteed income. But what you absolutely have to have is a plan for your income. If you retire without a plan for your income, you are not retired. You are simply unemployed. This is why the number one fear of retirees is outliving their money is because too many advisors come to it from a growth mindset. A growth mindset is not the mindset you need in retirement income phase. You must have retirement income mindset around how much money do I need, how much risk do I need to take to get there, and avoid all unnecessary risk. Losses in this phase will hurt you more than gains will help you. I'll tell you a funny story. My son and I, my youngest, Matthew, we were standing in line to ride a ride one time, and he wanted to go play a game. And he knew how much this game cost. And he specifically came up to me and said, "Can I have $5? Well, naturally, I looked at him and was playing around with him for a minute. And I said, "I'll give you $1. And he didn't want $1. He specifically looked at me and said, No, I don't want $1. I want $5. Okay. Why? Why did he have such definitive answers for me? Well, because he knew what he wanted to do, and he knew that $1 would not accomplish it. If I had asked him just hours prior, do you want $1? Well, of course his answer would have been, yes, I want $1. And while acquiring dollars throughout your growth phase is the goal, to acquire dollars, there comes a point where you have to be very definitive on how much you need. Without that, you can never know when you should stop. Taking risk on the hard-earned dollars that you have already made should only be done if it's required. Taking risk on the hard-earned dollars you have already made, if not required, is foolishness. Unnecessary risk can be avoided if you know what it means to be successful in retirement and how much money it's going to take to do so. Just like my son knew he needed $5, and he wasn't going to stop until he got it. But once he received $5, he was done. He walked over, he played his little fishing game, and got back in line. This is how we should retire. Knowing exactly how much we need, going to do exactly what we set out to do, and then meeting our heavenly reward later in life. Having all the money that's necessary is all the money you need. Trying to get all the money in the world will oftentimes result in failure. We can help you build a successful retirement. 270-600-PLAN, or simply jump on our website, rdswealth.com, and we will assist you in setting up a time that is convenient for you to begin discussing the retirement you've always imagined. All right, guys, and just like that, that is the show. I'm hearing the sound to wrap up in my earphones, and I just want to tell you I appreciate you tuning in each and every week, and I know that time is a valuable thing. It's not like money. Once you spend it, you don't get it back. And I know that when you spend this time with us, you want value from it, and I hope that you find the value you're seeking. But I'll tell you, if there's any kind of assistance that you need along this journey in retirement, we're here to help. 270-600-PLAN or rdswealth.com, where you can sign up for a no-cost consultation with one of our advisors and begin to see what the next step should be for you specifically. Until we talk again, whether it's right here on the same station or it's in person in one of our offices, always remember, save money, plan well, and live happy in retirement. God bless.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and RDS Wealth Management are not affiliated companies. Investing involves a risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. RDS Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RDS Wealth Management.